Hi there, Keegan from the Engineering blog here. Thought I'd just do another one of these little video log things. It's a lot easier than faffing with the main camera and editing and all that noise. I'm going to be designing and building a robot to enter into PiWars. No idea if I'll get accepted or not. I hope so, obviously, but I'm just having fun designing and coming up with the ideas for this build. You possibly saw the update for Bumblebee yesterday. So my old robot Hoover, of which there's a load of videos I put up showing how I reverse engineered a bunch of the components. They're mostly simple, it's like, ooh, how do you rig into this motor and things like that, but it just shows some of the thought process and how I replaced the components that were broken inside the board, inside the Hoover after it broke. So, quick update. This is Bumblebee. It's an original Roomba, so from 2002-ish. That I was given by an old colleague, very, very graciously. It was broken. He said if I could fix it, I could have it. And yeah, it just needed a new battery in the end. And got it working, used it as a Hoover for a few years, and then the board finally died, so I ended up replacing it with a Raspberry Pi, a Arduino with a motor shield on board. So got the Raspberry Pi in the case. This is an old case that's broken. It's all hot glued in place with, you can just see some of that there, hot glued in place with Lego, basically, which is a wonderfully simple way of mounting things that can still be moved around. We've got an Arduino there with a Adafruit motor shield on board. It's got a pair of H bridges, one of which I completely blew out when I brought the sweeper online because it used more than the 1.2 amps maximum, so it's got a few MOSFETs on there. The battery is, I think, 14 volts nominal, but charges to 16 because that's how batteries work. So I've got a buck converter there to drop it down to 12 volts for the most part, but a cigarette lighter adapter for a car, USB power thing, to give me 5 volts. Again, nice and simple. Loads of them lying around. Currently powered by this because the battery died. So yeah, I've been using that as a prototyping platform. And something else I have, I bought a couple of these. Nikko fast track replicas. If you remember back to the Tyco days, this is a fast track. I had one of these when I was a kid. They were like 20 quid each or something on offer, so I bought a couple of them because I thought at some point they'd make really nice robot platforms. So this is what it looks like under the hood. Again, very simple. You've got a pair of DC motors. You power them one way, it goes in one direction. You power them the other, it reverses. But yeah, we've got a nice set of tracks, the running gear for it all, and yeah, so I'm going to use the tracks, the wheels, 3D print a bunch of idlers just to keep it in place. One of which I have from the actual model. What I want to do is kind of replicate, have it more up like that, just to give it a bit more of a meaner profile. Because with PiWars, aesthetics is an issue. It's not an issue. It's a factor. So you want to put the effort in and make it look cool. You get extra points basically, and it looks cool. So the vague plan is to build a mobile robot, and by that I mean it's got caterpillar tracks, robot arms, cameras so you can remotely operate it, and yeah, take it from there really. I mean, the theme of PiWars 2020 is disaster zone, and the idea is to theme it around that theme. And yeah, I one of the challenges, Pi Noon, where you've got to have fire projectiles at a set of targets, is themed around the zombie apocalypse, and you've got toxic waste dumps and things like that. So one of the things that sprang to mind, and looking back through the history of PiWars, a few of us have used this idea already, of using Wally. They've actually used Wally models and they've retrofitted them to actually do the work, to compete in the challenges. In a post-apocalyptic world, Wally would be useful, be tidying things up, he'd be helping out in that way, but if there are zombies around, he's going to need to defend himself. So I'm thinking some kind of hybrid between Wally and Johnny Five. I grew up, I'm a kid of the 80s, so Short Circuit, had a big impact on me. It's one of the reasons I love robots now. So yeah, and I loved Wally when it came out. I saw it in the cinema and many, many times since. So the idea of crossing those two over and having, a little robot that can pootle around, that I can remotely operate, has arms on there. And yeah, so I've ordered an Adafruit Feather, I think it's the M4 based board, and a motor shield, so that'll be much, much smaller than the standard size Arduino. I also have a Adafruit 16 channel servo hat that I never used. I think this was originally for the shooting gallery project, but rather than using a Raspberry Pi, I went with something I was more familiar with already, because I had a year to build it, so obviously started a couple of days before the deadline. But yeah, so this 16 channels should be able to control 2 arms, and hopefully the pan tilt mechanism for the head. Almost certainly going to have a few other things on there which require a few more, but the idea is, and the requirement is, that all the control of the robot will be done from a Raspberry Pi. Can be remotely operated. Some of the challenges, depending on what level you end up being assigned to, either beginner, intermediate or advanced, some of them have to be autonomous. I'm going to try and go for autonomous, because in the lower levels you have that option. You get extra points if you do it, but if you put into the advanced class, you have to do certain ones autonomously. So yeah, I like the idea of the challenge of getting a bunch of sensors rigged up around this, like ultrasonic, so it can actually navigate its way through a maze. There's the line following mode. There's a really cool one where you've got to pick up little barrels that are, I don't know, that sort of size probably, and put them into safe areas. And I like the idea, they're color coded, so I like the idea of having computer vision on there. It's basically an excuse to do lots of things I've wanted to do for years, and yeah, why the hell not? That's it basically. So that's that. I mean, that's the vague plan. I've got a bunch of stuff on order. I've got an awful lot of things to design in Fusion 360. Already got a few ideas for how to do the arms. I like the idea of them being modular, so you can have various degrees of freedom and just make this gangly monstrosity at some point just for the hell of it. And yeah, so that's the plan. There'll be some reverse engineering of the chassis, so we can just swap these wheels onto it with the axles and all the rest of it, and mount the motors. It's going to be a bit wider than this. I can go up to 225mm and 300mm long, and yeah, and 370mm tall. So if I do end up going more Johnny Five than Wally, it means I can actually stand up a bit. I think the perspective, the proportions will work quite nicely. So yeah, if you're intrigued by this, stay tuned. And like I say, these videos should be quite quick and simple to put together. Not going to bother editing or anything like that. So yeah, stick along. Stay tuned. I don't bloody know. Just do the subscribey thing and follow me on my page, because I'll probably put up Facebook page. I'll probably put up more pictures and stuff on there. And yeah, just come along for the ride. See you there.